Behind the Brand, episode 9.
Is this camera on me?
I hope so.
So welcome back to the Half a Day Show. I'm your host, Jay Half-A-Day, the flyest man on the internet. And today we'll be doing another installment of Behind the Brand. Joining me is someone I've wanted to have come on the show for a really long time. I don't think he knows that. Look up to him a little bit, but I'm not going to gas his head up too much. Advocate, activist, civic engagement, a whole lot of good stuff. Please welcome Tylik Mcmillan.
What's up? I appreciate you being here. I'm excited to be here for real.
Yeah, man. Really excited to have you join us. And I think, the audience is really going to enjoy hearing about your story, all the good things you're doing, and whatever's coming next for you. So before we get into the questions, could you just give us a little bit of background about yourself, where you're from, what you're doing, how you got to where you are?
Yeah, definitely. So my name is Tylik Mcmillan. Like you said, civil rights activist, movement strategist, just like to say, just an all-around good vibe. I'm here to have a good time. I'm here for a good time, not a long time. I always say that all the same. But I was raised in civil rights, started civil rights at a very young age. I'm very passionate about, I'm black, and I root for everybody black. Shout out to Issa Rae.
Exactly.
And yeah, I just been doing this work since I was a preteen and kind of just grown in the work and the environment. And yeah, just trying to keep my foot on people's necks so we can get what we know we deserve. So
what's that?
And that's equality, that's equity, that's ensure that we get our fair share and get the whole damn dollar, as we say. And I'm just here to just do my part.
All right, I feel that.
In the way that I can do it. So
absolutely. So you said that you've been doing this since you were preteen. What forces or factors influenced, sort of your career path and trajectory?
Yeah, I was that kid that I enjoyed sitting with my great-grandmother. And when I was sitting with my great-grandmother, she would watch the news all day long. Like, she would be watching C-SPAN and the House floor proceedings, and she'd be watching MSNBC. And I would just sit there, and I would have conversations with her. She was heavily involved in the community back in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I was born in Virginia, but I was raised mostly in Harrisburg.
Okay.
And just being there and her involvement and us just talking, it like pointed, it pulled something out of me like who are these old white men that's up on the screen making all the decisions? I'm like, how do I be involved in that? How do I get involved in that? Why I'm not seeing people who look like me on that screen,
type of things,
doing these things who are young. And it pulled something in me to want to learn more, to know more. My grandmother, my grandparents in Virginia were heavily involved with the local NAACP, with the local, Democratic Party. They was like, my grandparents was like the chair and the president of things. So when elections would happen, we had no choice but to work polls. We were out, 4 or 5 in the morning, kids working polls without like a choice. And so that I give that to the exposure that I was exposed to. And then I was introduced to Reverend Al Sharpton when I was 13 and kind of just grew under him and his organization and his leadership and mentorship. And I'm blessed to be able to, to really hone in from that experience and that exposure to, being in the rooms and spaces that I'm in now. But I definitely give a shout out to my folks who, exposed me to these spaces.
That's real. Would you say this is your destiny or your calling?
I believe it's a calling. I believe it's a calling from God, for real. And so I feel like I'm just walking in it. I don't know what tomorrow looks like, what the day looks like. I don't have a special plan or what I want it to be. I'm just praying that through it I can be my authentic self, and like that, and inspire somebody else that they can be in the spaces and still be themselves.
I really like that. That's actually something I resonate with. When I was a kid, I would do the same thing. I would look on the news and I say, why there ain't more people that look like us?
Yeah.
On the things that they're doing, And I really think that it's powerful, the type of work that you're doing for that impression it has on Black youth.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing people getting after it and, being in these spaces with people that don't really look like us, but you're doing the important work. You're advocating for voices that aren't really heard as much in those spaces. So I think just by showing up, that is very powerful. So from that, I want to ask you, what does it mean to be an activist?
What it means to be an activist, I think that a lot of times people try to box in a definition of what an activist looks like. I think what an activist is someone who stands on what they believe in and, would do any and everything to ensure, that message gets across. I mean, I think activism looks different for everybody. For me, it may be being in front of a protest and holding a bullhorn and, saying no justice, no peace, or being in rooms and being able to talk policy. But for other people, activism can be raising money. It can be, just spreading the message, and you just, it looks very different for everybody.
So I wouldn't say there's one realm.
No, I think it's personal. I think you define what activism means to you. Because it's like, I feel like it's like life. Like everybody's life is different, and we all choose what our life looks like. And I think that's what activism is. You choose what activism looks like for you. So I don't think it's a single definition for it, but it's just like you holding on to what moves you and rolling with it for real.
Would you say that everybody should be an activist?
I feel like everybody is, though. Already
is.
I think you are naturally born activists. We all have our own lived experiences. We all, have our own family dynamics, come from different backgrounds and places. So we all have our minds wrapped around on what we think life should look like, or what life looks like for the collective group of people. Okay. And I think that's politics. That's all in that sense. But I think it all goes back to that for real.
All goes back to that. So then, what would be the most accessible form of activism that folks can get involved with?
I think being connected to the folks that you already are connected to. I think we all have influence, whether we know it or not. Somebody's always looking at us. Somebody's always watching us. Somebody's looking up to us. And I think what that looks like is you taking whatever influence you have to spread that message, and to you may change somebody else's mind just off of that thinking. So whether that's having conversations at the dinner table, whether that's having those conversations with your parents, whether that's talking with your friends, and having conversations that may be not normal to have. We ain't talking about the what you doings or whatever, but actually talking deeper, like what's happening, digging into some of the issues. Like those are ways, and I think that's the most accessible way. Is first starting in your own circle, and then translating that to the folks
in
your communities.
Would you say that you're a product of your environment? What do you think of that phrase? When folks be like, when they're looking at people who do wrong, they usually use this term when people are doing wrong, and they say, oh, they're just a product of the environment. Rappers say this a lot. Would you say that growing up how you did, the people that were around you nurtured and influenced the direction that you took?
I think it's will. It's your own will to a sense, but I do think those factors play into play of how you think, of where your mind goes. But I don't think that determines what you will do or where you will be. But I think it's your own self-will, your own determination. I grew up in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I remember very hard days when my father was incarcerated, single parent home. I remember being a kid and having the police storm our house, having not knowing what the hell was going on, or days just trying to figure out life, and not saying that those experiences or whatnot would determine what I will be, but I knew that whatever I wanted to do, I had to just put my mind to it, and just have that own free will to make my own destiny. But I do think there are factors that play in people's lives, and that's out of their control. But I think we all control our own destinies.
I like that. So I did want to go back really briefly just on your background a little bit, because we can't leave out the illustrious
you can't talk
Carolina A&T. Yeah. Could you talk about the importance of HBCUs to you and broadly within the Black community?
Yeah, I think my HBCU experience, as we say at A&T taught me not what to think, but how to think.
I like it.
It curated a safe environment, felt a family environment, and HBCUs are so important. They open the door and give access to folks who often get overlooked. Who say people are unqualified. And that's what I love about HBCUs. They produce world leaders and world changers. And so I'm a North Carolina A&T, I say Aggies are, the best in the land. They call us the greatest for, they call us the greatest for a reason. And so, shout out to A&T.
So if it wasn't A&T, where?
It's crazy. I have no idea where. Right. I have no idea where. I always, when I didn't start thinking about college until probably late in high school or like midway through high school. I knew I wanted to go to college, but it was like I wasn't really thinking about where. But
I go tell the Aggies. I
didn't know where. No, for real. Well, I went HBCU. Like I said, I grew up working under Reverend Sharpton and Reverend Jesse Jackson went to A&T. So every time I would be around Jesse Jackson, he would always talk about A&T. I'm like, I gotta check A&T out. And so I visited the campus, the first college tour I went to.
Yeah.
First campus I ever visited. And as soon as I stepped foot on campus, I fell in love with it, and I didn't think about nothing else since. So I felt like it was destined for me to be there.
What was your favorite moment at A&T?
Favorite moment? That's a hard question.
It is.
You know, my favorite moment, I said it, campaigning. You know, that's already. HBCU campaign is like no other. Like running for whatever you're running for, Mr. Miss. I was running for Attorney General. I was knocking door to door. I enjoy stuff like that. And so definitely the SGA campaign is probably my favorite moment. Campaign season was always wild.
Is it really the best homecoming on earth?
Oh, it is the greatest homecoming on earth. The vibes, the environment is like no other. The alumni, even the people that just come out, it's really community and the vibe. You got to be there to experience it.
What you got to say to the folks at the Mecca?
The parking lot is nice, but it's not A&T.
It ain't A&T. You heard it here, folks.
We ain't got to jump gates.
We ain't got to jump gates.
We just have a good time.
Walk through it and pull up. You feel me? So then I'm gonna segue real quick. What was it like, working for, still doing work with the National Action Network?
Yeah, I mean, working with the National Action Network was super dope. I think, like I said, the experiences and just a lot of folks don't see the behind the scenes and the meetings of like what's happening. Tons and tons of meetings, working all types of hours. They don't see a bunch of that, but I think the fact that you're able to be in spaces and to talk about and bring people's experiences for folks that you've talked to from around the world and around the country and bring them with you, it's like no other. And to see the impact that it has. So I was on our policy team.
Yeah.
And so I would work on things from voting rights stuff, criminal justice reform. I did tech stuff. And I remember during the pandemic, I don't know if you remember, during the pandemic, like working with the FCC around and working with ISPs and folks to shut down, like for billing. Because at first, a lot of the phone companies and stuff, they were doing surprise billing, or pandemic, people couldn't afford to pay for internet. And so being able to actually be in those meetings to make internet affordable, to provide internet to homes and get people access to internet, and to see the back-to-back calls and meeting with the commissioners and stuff, to actually see some of the meaningful work that came out of those meetings. It just felt the weight and the power behind it.
Yeah, it's one of those, organizations that's always there, but doesn't always get the spotlight for the work that they do. Like, I remember, I think you were largely a part of the 2020 march.
Yeah, March on Washington.
March on Washington. I remember seeing, you up there on that stage speaking. Can you talk about that moment? What went into organizing that?
Yeah, let me tell you, I shout out to this movie Rustin. Rustin is out.
That just came out.
Streaming all over on Netflix. And Bayard Rustin was a true inspiration of mine. And the moment, being able to plan and organize for the 2020 March on Washington, that over 200,000 people came out in the middle of the pandemic. It was a wild time. We had a very small office of 5. We started planning it mid-June, and did it just in 8 weeks. But I mean, it was very stressful.
I believe it. That's
very, very stressful. But I mean, it was an experience of a lifetime. Very experience of a lifetime. Planning it, tons and tons of meetings with Park Services. I did I was responsible for the branding of the march. Like I did all the branding. I did the mobilization. Getting folks and young folks here. But I mean, planning the march was hectic.
What role does social media play in, outreach and organization?
Yeah, I feel like it's a tool in the toolbox, just like word of mouth is. Social media is like kind of word of mouth, but you can reach millions of people by one post and one click. It's like a tool.
It's a tool, It's also an environment too in itself. It's another landscape that you got to navigate. You ever get overwhelmed being around all these prominent figures? Like, the eyes ever get too big? Like, damn, that's Joe Biden. Damn, this is, I'll start to be your life for a minute.
Yeah.
It's like, you ever be like, wow.
Yeah. I feel like, sometimes it's like, okay, I didn't see these folks. Like, all right, I'm ready to go home, get back to my bed. But it's eye opening, because for real, I remember being a kid and like growing up watching these folks.
Yeah.
Like, I remember, like I said, growing up from my great grandmother watching MSNBC to one day being on that screen myself. I remember watching C-SPAN, and the fact that C-SPAN has a whole profile of me now. Like, it's a really full circle moment of what's possible, and what, if you just trust God and believe in the path that you want for yourself, it'll all work out. But it's very full circle. Sometimes I be amazed, like, you may see some different celebrities and stuff like that, be shocked, but that's such and such. But yeah, it's like, okay, next, what we here for?
What we here for? So could you talk a little bit more about, your role at the National Action Network? You did speak about policy. What do you think is the biggest piece of policy that came out of your time there? You spoke on, your work with the FCC.
Yeah.
But in terms of significance, what would you say was the biggest thing you worked on there?
The biggest thing that I worked on, of course, voting rights stuff and criminal justice reform, police reform has been top of the list. Of course, Congress and the president or whomever, they not doing what they need to do when it comes down to making voting accessible, when it comes down to ending qualified immunity. They're not pushing the needle there. And so, of course, that's the main thing that we've always pushed for. But outside of that, where I could say a win that I can celebrate during that time, it honestly would really be the emergency broadband benefit plan that I talked about, FCC. I had convened all of the civil rights organizations and push for ISPs and those companies to stop surprise billing, to give folks access to the internet in the middle of the pandemic too. And so that was a very, very powerful moment for me, because I was like leading our tech profile, and so that's one moment that always sticks out to me. And also when we talk about the push for student debt cancellation, and we still trying to get Joe to do the full, zero, we wanted zero balance. But doing the push for that and being able to see, that some borrowers has been able to get student debt canceled, but we trying to get them canceled the whole thing.
Everybody.
Yeah. But you got to learn to celebrate small wins. I've learned you have to learn to celebrate small wins when it comes to in these spaces. Like, things move so slow sometimes.
I like that you pointed to that, because I wanted to ask you about that, actually. That points to, the idea of incrementalism.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? Is it a necessary evil to get good done, or is it just something that's a part or embedded within government? Because, our generation, we really we see shit messed up.
Yeah.
We want it to change.
We want to change that now. Yeah. But I think having an understanding that politics are local. Like, a lot of times people look at the federal government and say, like, they just supposed to do all, see all, and it oversees everything. But in reality, the federal government should reflect what local communities are doing and local leaders are doing. So it's all reflective in that. And, change doesn't happen over time. You gotta understand, like, I think I understand through, like, being in this space and having people have political education, understanding of actually what's happening, actually understanding what the three branches are and who does what, checks and balances. Like, everybody, it just can't stroke a pen and say, this will be that. We got to think about the House of Representatives. There are tons and hundreds of folks all with ideas.
Yeah.
all trying to come to a common cause. Like they're just arguing all day to a sense. But having an understanding of what can be done, what the president can do, legislative, the judicial, just having an understanding. But I think, of course, we want things to happen quickly. We want things to be addressed quickly, but it's all a slow process for real.
What is your canon event? So this is a little bit more of a fun question, but it can probably be a serious answer. For those of y'all that don't know what a canon event is, this comes from Marvel, Spider-Man specifically, where they're like, okay, this is one event that shaped your entire existence as a person. Like something that happened to you, something you experienced, something you gave somebody that you met, but you have to meet this person or you have to do this thing in order to be you, Tylik. So what is your canon event? And without that, would you still be you?
Working under Al Sharpton, probably like, I don't know, meeting him and him like being a mentor to me, giving me gems and inviting me. Cause like, let me say, he has, I think, opened a lot of doors when it comes down to just my personal and my career. I definitely believe it's already destined, ordained. God has already blessed and already set in stone what my life is going to look like.
Right.
But I do have to give him his flowers of
shout out to Reverend.
Him opening and creating space and opportunity for young people to be involved. I remember days he couldn't make meetings. He's sending little old me in those meetings. Yeah, I'm in the White House with a bunch of civil rights principals and leaders, and here I am, this 23, 24-year-old in those meetings. He's like, Tylik better speak. Tylik has to speak. And
pressure.
And what that does in my mind, it makes me feel validated. It makes me feel seen. And so I would definitely give them props to him. First time going to MSNBC studios and just being able to ride in the car with him, and just sit back while he's doing his show, or to be in the background and to, while he having conversations, with the vice president, folks, and just being in those spaces, in those rooms, it felt so fulfilling and validating. And so I would say that's my canon moment, but I would still say even without it, I think even before even meeting, like I said, at a young age, being my grandmother, I already knew it was already within me that I wanted to be in government. I wanted to run for office one day. I always had that goal in mind, but I think
office.
Huh?
Which office?
I want to be in Congress one day. What that looks like if it leads to wherever else.
I can see it.
But I do want to be in Congress. I want to be a legislator. I'm inspired by folks like John Lewis.
It's funny
from the streets to the suites.
For sure. It's funny you say that. Actually, I was telling my mom that I would be doing this interview, and I was like, this guy, he gives off presidential. It gives off congressional. And I'm like, I could see you running for office one day. So you got mine.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I like what you got.
I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. So that's your canon event and your canon person. I like that. So then if we could transition to now, we talked a lot about your background. What are you doing in your current role? I think you work as CUNA, right?
Yeah.
Your current role, your daily life. What are you doing now to continue the good work that you've already accomplished?
Yeah. So there, I do advancing communities work. And so we're talking about like the work that credit unions are doing in community to provide and close the gap and to be there. And so I do advancing communities work there. That's like my daytime, I say. But outside of that, I'm still doing consulting work.
Yeah.
I'm working with organizations when it comes down to like diversity, equity, and inclusion work with companies, doing some work as it relates to advisory councils. So I'm working with a lot of different organizations on the side, still doing public speaking and still talking. I'm very passionate about talking with young folks.
Mm-hmm.
So recently, I partnered and did a thing with Derek Jeter.
Wow.
And I spoke to his Jeter's leaders in Atlanta.
Leaders.
Yeah, Jeter's leaders. And like basically talking about like my experience, answering questions. When people look at me, my hope is, like I said, the whole authentic self. I want them to be authentic. I want them to see me to say, I don't have to fit a mold of what this has to be, but I can be my full self and still exist in these spaces. And so I like to talk to young people, and I want them to get that. And so yeah, that's what I just do. I do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. in between.
So you say,
Have a good time.
talking to young people. How old are you?
27.
27.
27.
Nigga still young, man.
You know, I had a young person. They said I was old. I'm like, what?
It goes with the
Am I getting old? I don't know. Nah, that's crazy.
So you said when young people see you, you want them to see authenticity.
Yeah.
One thing about you that people get confused about you. That was true.
Oh, I guess I got everything planned out. Like I'm moving like a robot, and I think if anybody that follows me, watches my Instagram story, they know it could be all over.
I don't know. So look, you know, you see you go on his Instagram page, you see all the, you know, the activism, you see all the organization. But what I lie to y'all not, when I run into this man at Creole, you would not think he do what he be doing. He be out here. What you say? You was on U Street yesterday.
Oh yeah, I'm here for a good time, not a long time.
And I like that. I feel like the next generation of political leaders, congressional people, the president even, I feel like they're really going to be like at brunch with you one day. Like they have to have.
This one gonna be. Tell me the place, time. I'm there.
You feel me? And I feel like that level of, you know, organic authenticity, genuineness needs to be in those places. To like, I'll be looking on the TV and I'll be hearing them talking. I'm like, some of these people don't seem like they real.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm like, what do y'all do for fun? Go argue?
Yeah, like what do they do? Like what are they doing? Like I feel like I don't know what their social life is like, but I think it's okay to have a social life.
I think
still. Like who even gave the definition of professionalism?
I don't like it though.
You know, I don't like it either.
Shoot, I'll tell you offline, but it's like government. But what's your biggest dream? You know, you said running for office, but I feel like you got more than one.
I want to be Beyonce. Oh, okay.
Everybody.
I mean, look, I want to be able to give back to my family. I want to be able to buy my mom a house.
Yeah.
I want to be able to do those things. You know, yeah. I want to be able to set people free, set people captive. You know.
We're gonna stick on that though. You say you want to be able to set people free. So I'd be remiss if we didn't have a question about, you know, the Black community.
Yeah.
What's one thing you wish you saw more of in the Black community?
I wish I saw more of us coming together, and I feel like that's very, you know, nuanced. Everybody says that. But I wish that we would support Black women, protect Black women. First and foremost, shout out to the, you know, the hoodie. I wish that we stood together, that we support Black business. You know, that we would spend more money in our community to help our communities thrive. I wish that we gave back and give opportunity to our where we're from and our spaces. Whether that's creating more affordable housing, whether that's creating more jobs, that we can get workforce development, that we're doing these things in our community. I wish we did more, and I wish that we just, you know, support each other a little more. You know,
and
I see other communities, they keep their money within.
We need to reinvest.
Yeah, we need to reinvest in ourselves. You know,
I like it.
Support one another.
I think it all starts with a conversation.
We must love one another. We have nothing to lose but our taste. Shout out to Asada Shakur.
Okay. So community, love, and what else?
Community, love, and I don't know. Look, hold on to the culture. The culture is what keeps us though, for real.
Got gatekeep it too.
Huh?
Got gatekeep it too.
Look, everywhere. I feel like everywhere. You know, I think it's always that crabs in the barrel thing, like that's staking. Like if I can't make it, you can't make it. But the reality is, if you making shit, I make it too. I want to make it my language. If when you succeed, I succeed, and vice versa. And I think if more people understood that, like we should get joy, seeing our fellow brothers and sisters doing great things.
Absolutely.
And be inspired and be able to, you know, inspire to do that as well. Like I said, being able to reach back and pull each other forward. So I mean,
100%.
That's all wrapped in that.
So I guess this is the last question then. And, you know, I'll frame it this way. I feel like part of this series is the idea that everybody is a brand. Every person is a brand. So I want to ask you, Tylik, what is next for you as a brand?
What is next for me as a brand? I want to start my own consulting firm. I want to be able to, I want to work for myself, but still doing the work that's meaningful and important to me. And so yeah, I want to be able to start a firm. We kind of touched on it off camera. I want to write a book.
Yeah.
Being able to write a book. A lot of stuff in store. I want to do commentary on. I want you to turn on your news and see me on your news every other day or every day. You know, a bunch of stuff in store. So I'm working on and praying on it. And I'm just letting God lead the way.
Absolutely.
And just let it flow.
I like that. So I'm really excited to see what's next for you. Proud of you.
Appreciate it.
Love
Proud of you.
that you got going on. And this has been an episode of the Half a Day Show. Make sure y'all go follow Tylik at
Tylik Mcmillan. Tylik McMillan.
Beyonce. If you watch this episode, we looking for you.
Yeah, we try to figure out what happened in the elevator. That's my question. You know, the things going around. So you ask one question. What happened in the elevator?
She ain't gonna tell you. She ain't gonna tell you. But as always, the Half a Day Show, education, entertainment, everything in between. See y'all next year, because this is the last episode. Thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you.